A great agenda. Got it. I should have waited for that. We have a great agenda for you today. Our theme for the first RCC is information sharing with technology. We have presentations from the Boulder MAC, Senior Planet, Bridging Digital Divides, Transit Alliance, and Dr. Mac. We welcome you all to stay for the entire meeting for an opportunity for you to be heard. I am so glad to have you here. And before we get started, Malia is going to get us started with some housekeeping items.
Thanks, Colleen. We're going to do some quick housekeeping before we get started. Please go ahead and type your name and organization in the chat so we can keep track of who's here. If you'd like to mute or unmute, you can click the microphone icon in the bottom left corner of your Zoom window. To access the chat, you can click the speech bubble icon in the bottom middle of your Zoom window. We ask everyone to keep themselves muted during the meeting when they're not speaking. But should you need to raise your hand, you can do that by clicking on the smiley face icon in the bottom right corner. As always, you can use the chat as needed for questions or comments, and you can also use the raise your hand function to be called on. Now that we've covered all of that, we're going to do some quick staff introductions. Latoya?
Hi, this is Latoya Prachi, and I am the Operations and Development Manager. And I've been working with volunteers, really making an impact on outreach and really being seen out in the community. So that's actively moving forward, and we're really excited about all the partnership that we have going on with lots of works. So excited to see what comes from those.
And I'm Malia Munson. I'm the Operations and Development Assistant. Lately, I have been working on a lot of outreach, trying to get our name far and wide, and also just working on the streamlined process within the Dr. Mac organization.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm the Program and Training Assistant here at Dr. Mac. I work on travel trainings, and over the weekend, we trained nearly 100 women on how to ride RTD. Diana?
Thanks, Holly. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Castro, and I am the Bilingual Outreach Coordinator. I wanted to mention to you the 50 Plus Marketplace. They are a wonderful organization that still does printed outreach. So they are a free newspaper that does printing in Denver, Littleton, Lakewood. I'm going to put their link in the chat. If you ever have something that you need to print, I suggest that you reach out to them. They are wonderful. Steph?
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie O'Neill. I'm the Program Manager of Special Projects here at Dr. Mac. As many of you may know, I oversee our travel training program, so always pushing that out. And like Holly mentioned, we had a really successful event over the weekend where we trained all those women. It was a really fun experience. Most of them spoke either, well actually all of them either spoke Arabic or Dari, so it was a fun experience getting to connect with them and teach them how to use RTD.
Hi, my name is Maria Griffin. I am Dr. Mac Bilingual Administrative and Marketing Assistant. I have been working with my team to develop new marketing strategies in our effort to expand our reach to the community. I also have been and continue to search for new transportation providers to be added to our getting their app so we can assist more people. And as always, as I'm one of the main voices for our IMA line, whenever you call us at 303-243-3113.
Thank you, Dr. Mac team, for those updates. So there cannot be a regional coordinating council without the local coordinating councils. So please help me welcome our first speaker, Angel Bond from the Boulder Mobility and Access Coalition, the local coordinating council of Boulder County. Angel is here to share with us how the Boulder MAC is structured. Angel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm going to switch screens here before I share, but I really appreciate it, Diana. Let me go ahead and get set up. Okay, sorry it's taken me so long here. It says that I can't share my presentation.
How about now?
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I kind of modified a presentation that I did at CASA a couple of years ago, just on building a successful LCC. So I'll go ahead and go through this a little bit. I know that this will be like preaching to the choir. Most of you are probably already in the loop on this. But really, local coordinating councils get their direction or get the idea from the federal government. So it was a federal version of a local coordinating council that's called CCAM. So that is the Coordinating Council on Access and Mobility. And it really gets together a cross-disciplinary group of departments at the federal level. And they look at all of the different federal funding streams that fund transportation for underserved populations. There's 11 federal agencies that are a part of it, and then they have 136 different programs that fund special needs transportation. So one thing that we looked at as a MAC is looking at their coordinating, they have like a coordinated human services transportation plan or a strategic priority plan that they did. So that provided a lot of inspiration for the direction that we wanted to go initially. And most of you know that statewide, there's the CMAC, which is the Colorado Mobility and Action Coalition. And then of course, DRMAC, which is our regional coordinating council. So we really look at like what all three of those different organizations at different levels do and look at like what can we on our local level in particular focus on. So our coordinating council has existed since 2012. And we used to just be called like the LCC, but a lot of people felt like that wasn't really, it didn't really speak to what we were doing. So we renamed our local coordinating council to the Mobility and Access Coalition, I would say probably about 2 or 3 years ago. And really its intent is to bring together individuals and organizations to overcome historic silos. So all the different funding streams really kind of naturally lead to siloed approaches to transportation. And so we really wanted to get people from different sectors into the same virtual room. We also focus on sharing information, assessing what the transportation needs are in Boulder County, and then providing recommendations on how to improve the system. So that would either be providing recommendations to the providers like RTD or VIA or Cultivate, or really trying to seek grant funding in order to improve the situation. So we develop strategies, tools, and projects to improve mobility. And then we educate the community members and general public and decision makers on needs that are in our community. So we have a bunch of different folks that attend our MAC. I would say on average, we have about 25 to 35 people who attend on a monthly basis. We are meeting virtually monthly now, with the exception of 3 months where we're going to meet in person. And April will be the first time that we meet in person for this year. And really, we kind of balance how we focus on what we discuss. So 1 month we'll focus on executing our Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities plan. Another month we'll have external community partners give presentations on transportation projects, programs, initiatives that are going on. And then the third month we'll have panel discussions on important topics that we've outlined as priorities in the Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities plan. Some key achievements that we've achieved, we've been able to advocate for some changes to the local system that benefit the people we serve. So Ride Free Longmont was initially a grant program, and the organization, the MAC, advocated for the city of Longmont to take over funding that after the grant expired. We also provided valuable input to RTD on the Low Income Pass program initially before it started. We've done extension or we've advocated for different routes to be extended to different locations. So in particular, RTD Route 228, the group has advocated for it to be extended to a housing authority site called Kestrel, and then also one of the only food pantries in Southeast Boulder County, Sister Carmen. We've also worked on coordinating. So this in particular, this East County Food Security Transportation Committee, we met for about a year and a half to try to really outline what the needs are for East Boulder County transportation to cross jurisdictional boundaries. And the result of that effort led to a grant application that launched Ride Free Lafayette, which is an on-demand service free to the public. Also, the MAC had an inclusive planning process to really outline the needs in the mountain community. What's that? Oh, I'll just go ahead and continue. I think it was a mistake, but we really outlined the needs of the mountain communities, and the efforts, the inclusive planning efforts in the mountains led to the launch of Mountain Rides, which is a fixed route service. And then we're launching the implementation of a volunteer driver program in the mountains this year with the Dr. Cobb grant. We also had an inclusive planning process to overcome technology barriers for people accessing RTD, Uber, Lyft, Google Maps. And so we created a curriculum with OATS actually before like Senior Planet. I guess OATS is part of Senior Planet. But anyways, we worked with them probably about 4 years ago now to develop a curriculum to educate people on how to use the apps to access transportation. We also adopted our Human Services Transportation Plan, Human Services Transportation Plan called the Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities Plan 2 years ago. And that really outlines the framework for what we need to accomplish in order to improve transportation in Boulder County. And that is, the adoption of that plan was one reason why we were able to get more funding for mobility services in Boulder County. And lastly, we also were able to get youth mobility to focus on e-bike safety. So a lot of the schools in Boulder County were talking about how they felt there were a lot of unsafe practices with teenagers riding e-bikes. So one of our specialists, she convened a stakeholder group in order to develop a pro multimodal transportation campaign that focused on safety. So really what we focus on as far as motivating people is starting with the why. I'm sure most of you have seen the TED Talk with Simon Sinek that focuses on how some companies are more successful than others. And he talks about how starting with the why, the purpose that you're working with, is really central. Then you talk about how. So for our local coordinating council, we talk about on communication, information sharing, coordinating, collaborating. That's how we do what we do. But really our why is starting with transportation equity. And then what we do is basically cross-sector information sharing, community-based transportation planning. And I have a slide for each of these to kind of illustrate how we focus this. So our why, we start this with all of our meetings, is really transportation access is a human right. It has access to opportunity, it improves quality of life, it helps people meet their basic needs, and it helps people be safe and thriving. We have this pedal graph that really has equity at the center and transportation as a social determinant of health. So we really focus this as our why every time we meet. Then our how, this is kind of overcoming those silos, those historic silos. So just communication, information sharing, coordination, and collaboration. And so we have kind of the navigation here with like systems navigation, our coordinated human services transportation planning, our shared projects, and then increased awareness of needs and gaps in the community. So really this is trying to get everybody out of their silos. If you're a food pantry, you still have like tangentially like tangentially like access to transportation data that we would like to tap into and that we'd like to like get your perspective on. This is kind of a continuum. This is really a wonky slide, but this is a continuum of a local coordinating council. And really, it starts with isolation, like all of the agencies working on their own to try to achieve transportation access. Then the next step is really communication. The next step is coordination. So working with different agencies to work together on a case-by-case basis to coordinate support. Then there's collaboration, agencies working together on project-by-project basis, including joint analysis and planning. And then there's integration. And this is really like where you become like one organization or one entity. So I think that for the local coordinating council in Boulder County, we really do bounce between these three in the middle. Communication on some issues, we just get updates on certain transportation plans that are happening. coordination on others. So this would be something like the technology education program that we work on. And then collaboration would be something like launching the mountain rides program with VIA being the operator and the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services being a collaborator, like promoting the service. And really we want to improve the amount of trust and more communication between the stakeholders. So this is the what we do. It's cross-sector information sharing, community-based transportation planning. We have lots of beautiful pictures here. But as far as technology and the intersection of the topic of today, our technology education program, as I mentioned, was a result of the inclusive planning process that was funded by the Community Transportation Association of America. And really, it was to understand the needs of older adults and people with disabilities in accessing transportation with technology, and then expand the access of smartphone-based applications to access transportation, and really to empower our volunteers. So we have a volunteer group of about 10 people who speak a variety of languages, and also our older adults, people with disabilities, low-income folks themselves. And they go out and they really help us connect with community members, and they help increase confidence using apps with people that we serve. This is a list of our workshops that we offer with that program. And then last year we did an update to our curriculum to with the CPWD, Center for People with Disabilities. They have a Beyond Vision group that we had kind of go over our curriculum and look at the workshops from a low vision and blind lens to see how we can improve our education. We do individualized trip planners for this technology education, and it has all the apps, contact information for Dr. Mac, RTD, if people want to print this out. And then it also has kind of like a worksheet so people can plan where they want to go and how they get there and what could be their backup options. So that's kind of a brief update of just kind of the successes of some of our MAC efforts. Does anybody have any questions on what I went through really quickly?
Please take yourself off mute. Feel free to put any questions in the chat.
Will we be getting copies of these presentations?
I can definitely send a copy of this to Dr. Mac to send out.
Okay, perfect. I will put you down, Zig.
Thank you.
We will also, we post the recordings for these meetings on our YouTube page. We can put that link in the chat as well. So if you ever want to go back and watch, re-look at the slides for any of them today, you can find that there. But I don't have any questions, but I just want to say, I attend the Boulder MAC meetings, and a lot of work has gone into the group over the last, I think I've been going for almost 3 years now, and it's very impressive to see all of the work that comes out of that group. So just want to props to you, Angel, and everyone over there, and everyone who attends, because it's yeah, it's great, and appreciate the model that it serves for the other LCCs.
Angel, could you describe for us the success you've had with the education sessions, the technology sessions specifically?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that the success we've had with the technology education has been mostly with our ambassadors. So I think that the curriculum in and of itself is pretty straightforward, right? We just provide things that are large font, that are step-by-step approach, screenshots to downloading apps and using them. But really where people get the confidence is when they're matched with somebody that is their peer. So this concept came out of a pilot that we did with Lyft at one of our housing authority sites. And we found that no matter how many presentations we gave as staff members, people were still intimidated. They did not necessarily want to ask us questions. We weren't always available when they wanted to ask questions. So really the success of it was having people on site at their housing location that they could ask questions at any point when they were ready. And then it was also just if they were going to go to the grocery store or use the apps or use the services, they just basically asked some of their neighbors, do you want to come with me? And then it demystified some of the transportation options. So I would say that was the biggest success, is that we do have a pretty engaged, robust volunteer program. And most of our volunteers stick around for a few years and are really active and want to advocate for more transportation options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and send a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to Dr. Mack, and I just want to thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angel.
Hey, Angel, I think Danny was asking about how RTD can best help and be involved. Did you
I
get
didn't
that?
see that. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh,
Thank you.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So Danny, I would say that it's been an uphill battle to get RTD involvement. Now, I think in the last like 3 years, it's been really great to have RTD involved at the local coordinating council level and regional coordinating council level. I think there wasn't a lot of clarity on my part, at least, like why we wanted RTD at the table. And so I think once we were able to kind of crack that nut and be able to like tell RTD what the benefit is of attending the LCCs, we've seen a lot more involvement. I think providing updates at the LCCs and the RCCs, we know that you all promote whatever efforts are going on, like through your social media or through your newsletter, but really like having somebody that we know who to reach out to and we get updates on equity efforts like you all have been doing is just great. So I don't know if you have any other questions about that, Danny.
No, I think that's great. I appreciated hearing from that. And I see Latoya's comment in the chat about, attending all of the meetings in the local area. I actively try to attend the Boulder County one, as you know, and Denver's, but I will say attendance at the others it's probably pretty sparse. So that's something that we could certainly improve on, is participating more rigorously in the broader network of LCC. So I appreciate that. And I always just want to open the door for, if folks have, any comments, concerns, feedback for equity work at RTD and so on, please reach out to me. Like, I am always more than willing to have a conversation about how I can support in my own little role here at RTD. So.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate it. And we've noticed a big difference in just like the willingness to work with local coordinating councils. And yeah, just it's night and day from when I first started, but thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Ervin, Tano also have another question. How about how LCCs can help RTD and public transit in general with the labor shortages affecting the industry?
Yeah, so that is one thing. I don't know if that question was just for me, Maria, but that was one thing that was outlined in our coordinated human services transportation plan, is that we had all these wonderful ideas, but there were labor shortages that really are a persistent obstacle to us being able to expand transportation in Boulder County. So for our MAC, we've taken the approach of acknowledging current drivers to hopefully increase retention, and then just raising awareness of the importance that drivers, the important role that drivers make or take in the community. So last year during our 10th anniversary celebration for our MAC, we created a video acknowledging like all the wonderful drivers that were nominated for awards. And last year we had people nominate drivers for awards again. And this year we have another big campaign that Jessica Viena Sanchez is leading, just to kind of highlight the importance of drivers in our community and point people to a landing page that we have. So I'll go ahead and put the link to the page in the chat, but we just have like a local coordinating council page that just says drivers play an important role, you can apply here. And I don't know if that's had much of an impact, but I'm excited for the next social media campaign that we're working on now.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for those questions. We're going to move on to our second presenter. We're going to hear from AARP Senior Planet. Today we're joined by Aaron Santis and Dayton Romero, who will give us a quick update on some of the services offered by Senior Planet. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's just going to be me today, not Dayton. So I'm Aaron Santis. I'm the program lead for Senior Planet Colorado, and I apologize for my voice. It's been 3 weeks this way since I had COVID, so I'm waiting for it to come back. So I wanted to give a brief overview about Senior Planet. OATS is the organization, Older Adults Technology Services. Senior Planet is our outward-facing brand, so that's where people are going to know our programs by Senior Planet. OATS is more of our business central. Angela was just mentioning how we had a partnership 4 years ago with creating those curriculum, and those are things that we do through the OATS platform. We've made those types of partnerships, but Senior Planet is really what you're gonna know our programs by. So if we can go to next slide, I'll talk about the two differences. So our Senior Planet motto is aging with attitude. So what does aging with attitude mean to you? Senior Planet is a space for social connection and learning, and it's designed for older adults 60 and above. OATS, the organization, Older Adults Technology Services, our mission is using the power of technology to change the way that we age. So we like to think of ourselves as a social change organization that is using technology as a tool. So it's not at the forefront. It's really about changing the narrative and how people view older adults and how can we utilize technology and improving our lives as an older adult as that tool. So we have 5 different impact areas. We have civic engagement, social engagement, financial security, health and wellness, and creative expression. Through those different impact areas, we're using technology as a tool to really use that to improve your life in those, whether you want to be more financial secure and be familiar with online banking, or you wanted health and wellness and using a Fitbit and tracking. We're using technology as that tool, but we also have foundational courses as well. I'll cover the programs that we have to offer. I want to fit in as much highlight points as I have and make sure there's a lot of time for questions. Someone's saying that they're not seeing the presentation on their screen. Can everybody else see the presentation?
Yes, we can see
I can see it. Yeah.
Yes, I can see.
I can see it.
Okay. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. So I want to talk about where we started and where we are now, because we are now a national organization. We started out of New York City, and OATS was formed back in 2004. We built our first Senior Planet Center in Chelsea, New York City on 25th Street. So that was our first technology center. We opened then in 2016 in Plattsburgh, New York, all the way upstate by the Canadian border. So we did our urban area, and then we did our rural area. And then from that, we've kind of expanded a lot in 2018, where we decided to move over to Colorado, and we did get funding to come to Colorado from Next 50 Initiative, where we built another center, and then it's still there and operating in Lowry in East Denver. Now since we're opening another center in Miami. So these are the different locations that we have centers and Denver happens to be one of the locations that we're using that space for social connection, but we're also using it for technology classes. And I'll cover what some of the programs that we have there in person in just a moment. But if you can go to the next slide, you'll see that we're expanding a lot in person outside of where we have our centers. And how are we doing that? We're doing that through our licensing program. So we have 4 centers total right now in different states. 2 happen to be in New York, but we wanted to increase our footprint after we became a charitable affiliate of ARP in 2021. And we wanted to be able to scale our programs more in person. Now that COVID has gone back, we wanted to do more boots on the ground because we expanded online throughout the the pandemic, and we were doing 60 to 60, and we're still doing 60 to 65 virtual programs every week online. But you can see this map is actually not even up to date. We're now actually more than 300 licensed partners. We're actually doubled that in just this past year when this slide hasn't been updated. So we have about 600 different licensed partners. We're in 36 different states. And what it means to become a licensed partner, we're partnering with other senior centers and libraries and other nonprofit organizations where they're going through our licensing program and they're getting trained under our teaching methodology to have access to our curriculum to teach in their community. So to be a licensed partner, you would have to have someone go through 5 weeks of training, how to train and deliver our programs, and then you get access for a year upon approval to getting our licensed materials, and then you could teach our materials in your location. So right now, currently in Colorado, we have 6 different licensed partners. In the Denver metro area, we're really trying to push everyone towards our center in Lowry, but we realize that not everyone is ambulatory, and the hot topic is transportation is an issue. Transportation is an issue getting to our center in Lowry. So we're always thinking of creative ways to, one, get people there to that space, or can we utilize our our licensing program to go to other sites to have Senior Planet programs delivered there. The closest program licensed partner we have right now in the Denver metro area is Lakewood. Can we go to the next slide? Sorry, my voice is going really fast. To give you a brief overview of the programs that we do in person at our center, we have lectures, which are one-time lectures that are introducing a product or a platform. So they're an hour long. They are Q&A, and they're topics like AI, Instagram, TikTok. There's a variety, Fitbit, wearables. So we have about 68 different lecture topics, and that list is growing and growing. Our workshops are also a one-off program, but it is more hands-on, where you're going step by step and joining a platform or joining a product, like how to sign up for Instagram, how to use Lyft, how to use Uber. And then we have program series that combine these lectures and workshops in a 5-week process, where they're kind of emulating a class, combining the lectures and workshops under similar topics. So there's tech tips for saving money. There is all fitness. We have a new series all about learning how to use AI, and it's combining those lectures and workshops. In person, we have 5 and 10-week courses that we're offering at our center. Our next quarter will begin in April, where you can take a course that comes with a textbook that meets twice a week for 5 weeks or for 10 weeks. And it really is detailed about different topics. Most of these classes are not really focusing on the impacts that I mentioned before. It's focused on the foundational courses. So learning how to use an iPad for the first time, learning how to use your Android, learning how to use a computer for the first time, or kind of those basic skill sets. Then we always love to have guest speakers, other speakers. We were talking about Dr. Mack coming into our center to talk about transportation and talking about access and programs that they have to offer that's different from our specialty that we don't have. So we always love to have guest speakers as well. And then we have special events, social events. We have happy hour that we just had last week at our center. So we love to think that it's a social place as well. And then, of course, we have programs online. I'm going to share our website, where, since we're a national organization, you can see that we have our different locations, but we have a lot of online programs, and we're doing 60 to 65 virtual programs every single week online over Zoom. If we can go to our next slide. This is just an example of, and I could share this with people later, and it's kind of a flow chart to take people through our courses and how our foundational courses work. So this is really a guide for participants themselves to see what kind of journey they can take through our foundational courses before they unlock our impact area courses. Can we go the next 2 slides? Yeah, one more. What I want to talk about, another thing, and I want to highlight, is our hotline support. So now that we're a national organization, we have a national hotline number that anyone can call from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday to get tech assistance over the phone. So you might be surprised what we can do over the phone. Obviously, there's limitations helping somebody with technology over the phone, but we've been doing this all through the pandemic, so you can be surprised what we've done. In the first 6 weeks of the pandemic, we got over 6,000 seniors onto Zoom over the phone through our hotlines, and that number is growing a lot. So they can help with tech questions, especially with connecting to Zoom, but they also can answer our localized questions like what programs are happening in Lowry, and what programs does Senior Planet have to offer? How do I find this information? And when the Affordable Connectivity Program was going on, I know that we're kind of dialing back from that. We were also using that as a resource for connecting people to ACP, which I know is now going away. If we can go to the next slide, to get our information about us, our newsletters is the best access point. You can sign up for our newsletters. We have a bunch about articles, and there's articles about aging, and then we have our local newsletters. The Colorado newsletter comes out every Friday, and it's about updated programs that are happening locally in Lowry. Then we have our online events newsletter. Our health and wellness is the most popular program that we have virtually right now. And sometimes we have up to 700, 800 people joining at once in all 50 states for our exercise programs. We could just go to the next slide. I want to skip the surveys. I want to talk about and really highlight real quick our Senior Planet community. Senior Planet community started in 2001, and it's our own social platform that we created, kind of like Facebook, but it's for older adults and designed exclusively for older adults. It's interest-based. We have over 2,000 users right now, and it's been growing, but it's designed and operated by Senior Planet. It's ad-free and trusted and safe, and it is all geared towards older adults with different interests. We have a Colorado group, a Denver group, we have an LGBTQ group, we have an exercise group that people are meeting with peers and older adults through the social media platform. I'm going to stop there because one, I'm losing my voice, and two, I would love to see if anyone has any questions about what we do. And yes, and that's the last slide I wanted to actually show everybody. Seniorplanet.org is where we're going to find all of our information about our program. Keeping in mind that we're a national organization, that if you wanted to find out what's local happening in Denver, you would have to go to our Denver, Colorado site if you go to locations. But this is a great resource where you're going to just see embedded our online virtual programs that are on Zoom that are only a couple of clicks away, because you can join the programs from directly on our website, and that's accessible for anyone to join. And there's also tech tip videos that are on there, articles, and volunteer opportunities, so that you're going to find our upcoming online programs and in-person programs there. Diana, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, about the social media platform that you have for older adults. Is that an English only platform, or do you have a multilingual other that one?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, everything's designed in English, but our program and curriculum and for in-person programs is designed for English, Spanish, Russian, and Mandarin right now. And we're moving to offer more and more in those areas. We do have a Spanish group that's within Senior Planet community, but getting there right now, things are mostly in English. So we're in the transition. We're building more things in the system online for Spanish speakers, but we do have all Spanish programs that are happening virtually every single week. I do have a bilingual trainer that is in Denver, and hopefully we're going to have some bilingual programs in person in Colorado, but we also have a whole newsletter that's all in Spanish about our Spanish programming.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, Sarah?
Yeah, I just had a question about whether any of the classes or any of your teachers are comfortable with seniors who may also be at the intersection of being both a senior and somebody with an intellectual and or developmental disability. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't specialize in exactly that area, but we do have come across that, and it is something that our curriculum is designed and our trainers are designed with that mind and that thought in mind, and that's part of our classroom management training for our trainers, as well as having accessible curriculum of, you know, it comes across that we have people that are all with different learning styles and coming into a classroom, and with people coming in with basic knowledge and wanting to know really from the start on something, and someone that has a grasp or familiar with something. You know, we do a lot of extensive trainings on how to best manage that. That's why our robust information classes we like to keep small, for that reason, to make sure that we're really not leaving people behind. But our lectures are designed in a way where it's just giving that information, and it's not that hands-on experience, but it does give a lot of robust information that comes with a handout, and there is that Q&A session. But we find that a lot of people sometimes come to those sessions again, and we encourage them to repeat them if they don't feel like they retained everything. That's why a lot of things are repeated as well. You know, we love repetition, and we always encourage people to take things again. If you didn't grasp everything the first time, that's okay. We have plenty of people that have taken a program 3 times, 4 times, and you can kind of go at your own pace. I don't know if that exactly answers your question.
Yeah, no, that helps. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So Danny might have a question. Danny can ask a question and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next presenter.
Awesome. Hi, Erin. Thanks for the presentation. I was just curious, and maybe some other folks in the room can relate to this, but I'm curious in regard to your messaging and how you encourage folks, maybe towards their younger 60s who are, you know, newly seniors, how to, I guess, just encouraging them to use resources such as Senior Planet. So, for example, I think of my parents who are in their young 60s, and I don't know if they've fully accepted the fact that they're, you know, in the senior category or older adult category. So I'm just curious what messaging you use to encourage folks to use this awesome resource, right, that could benefit them when maybe they haven't quite accepted that they're in that stage of life.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it is really hard to cross that barrier, you know, just like when people have this intimidation of like, oh, I put limitations upon myself because I don't feel like I can do this because society thinks that I'm not able to. And it takes a while to get to that barrier. But I think the best thing is to, you know, visit our space and see what we're about. You'll see that we're not using anything that's stated, or we don't look like a typical senior center. Everything's up to date, everything's modernized, really trying to fight that stigmatization that people have on what resources seniors deserve. We think that always the best, the latest, the most up to date, but we're teaching in a way that is not assuming that people know the language or terminology that that people that have grown up with technology would know. So yeah, it is a barrier, and it is hard to get people in that door, but a lot is word of mouth once we get people involved in our programming and kind of see the approach that we have, where it's not, you know, your typical, you know, top down thinking of. We're very inclusive with having involvement with our members. Well, we say participants, and having active involvement with the development of our program and direction. And it's a lot community based. That really drives, you know, people to want to take our classes, building that comfortability in that community. We built a community, and it was really tough, but we were able to do it over Zoom, where we had the same people meeting over Zoom 5 days a week for 2 years on Zoom. So they built really that community themselves, and they really were ambassadors for us to talk about the community that was built at Senior Planet. Sorry, that was a long, drawn out answer.
No, I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Aaron, could you describe your economic model for us, please? I mean, I'm trying to figure out whether or not this costs anything.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to. So all of our services are completely free. Thanks to our affiliation with ARP. We're privately and publicly funded, but ARP is now our main funding resource that made us a national organization, and with the agreement that none of our services would be charged. So none of our classes, the hotline, no programs are for a price. And it's all funded through ARP, and then we do have privately and publicly funded as well.
Aaron, this is Bob Epstein. Do you have to be a member of ARP to take part in this program? And also, is there a great variance in the programs that you present throughout your various community centers?
Yeah, so you don't have to be a member of ARP to be a participant of Senior Planet. They're mutually exclusive. You can be a participant of Senior Planet and not a member of ARP, and vice versa. To become a member, all you have to do is fill out a basic information form. We have to prove that people are coming because we are funded. So we have to show engagements that people are coming to our in-person spaces, and then we're capturing that online via the number of Zoom accounts that are joining our programs. Our curriculum is all designed by an in-house curriculum team. So we have in-person classes that are robust with books that are designed by an in-house education team. And then all of our lectures and workshops are also designed by our education team as well. So everything is developed with in-house. So we don't develop any resource curriculum that's outside or external, even though we do love to do some special events. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so
Aaron,
much.
folks in their 70s are afraid of technology. How do you address the fear of technology? I mean, and the example I might provide is that a lot of folks have a great fear that if they drop their phone, it's going to break.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a challenge. And I want to answer this quickly because I know that we have to move on. So I think this will be the last question. But yeah, it is a challenge and it is a barrier because that's why we're, trying to create these safe spaces and building community-based first. So people feel like they're in that comfortable environment first. That people don't feel ashamed to ask these questions because, one of my favorite quotes from one of our participants said, when I'm out there, I feel invisible, but when I walk into this community, when I walked into the Senior Planet Center, I feel seen and I feel like I'm not afraid to ask those questions. So, we really work hard to build that community first. So I know that we have to move to the next presenter because I went way over time.
Yes, no, but perfect. Well, thank you. If we have any other questions for Aaron, we can always put them in the chat and we can answer them afterwards, or if we have time at the end. Thank you so much, everybody. Aaron, this was great. We can always filter any other questions to you via email. Thank you so much. We're very excited with this partnership. We're going to move on to our next presenter, which is Laura Van Matter from Bridging Digital Divides. Laura, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi there. As she just said, I'm Laura Van Matry. I work for Sister Carmen Community Center, which Angel mentioned is a family resource center in East Boulder County. However, this program travels throughout Boulder County. We do classes in Boulder, Louisville, Lafayette, Longmont, occasionally Broomfield. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of need out there. How do I make this? Okay. So this basically, we started out as a collaborative between all of these different entities. We have worked with all of these different entities over the years. And we'll go to what we want. We're striving for digital equity. And digital equity has been called one of the super indicators of health, a lot like transportation. More and more things are accessed only online, whether it's affordable housing, health, social activities. And so getting people comfortable with using the internet and online applications is our mission. Okay. So the problem here is the digital divide. It doesn't affect us all equally. Of course, older adults are what we just were speaking of, but we also have a lot of immigrants and Spanish speakers and low income people of color that are affected by the digital divide, much more likely, less likely to have computers in their house or the skills to access them. So any activities you do to try to ensure that these individuals and communities have better access to information online, to resources online, to programs, that's digital inclusion work. A lot of you are probably doing digital inclusion work. Our equity, digital equity being the final goal here, we want to make sure that what are the resources and activities that make our lives better are not exclusive to those who have the income and the education to access them. Okay, we can skip past this. All right, so the Infrastructure and the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Jobs Act had a Digital Equity Act in it, and every state has to come up with their own digital equity plan. I've been taking part in the Digital Equity Committee for the last couple of years, as does Dayton Romero, also from Senior Planet. Sorry you couldn't be here today. So the identified populations that you're trying to access with our digital equity plan are, of course, people living in poverty, people of a racial or ethnic minority, rural people, people whose English is not their first language, aging individuals, individuals with disability, incarcerated individuals, and veterans. Okay. And although the actual technology, the hardware and the internet can be a problem, more often it is that fear of technology that we mentioned. And so we are a local group of individuals, most of whom are just either volunteers or contract workers, and we teach basic digital skills classes. Okay. We started off with Spanish-speaking groups, partnering with BVSD and St. Vrain school districts to give classes in the evening for parents in Spanish and to help them learn to use Chromebooks. At the end of the class, they get to keep the Chromebook. And this is a way to get affordable technology into the hands of parents and get them, 8 weeks of training on how to use the basic apps. We provide childcare and pizza dinners, also make it more accessible to working parents. Okay. We've been doing this since 2018. These are some pictures of the classes. We also rely heavily on bilingual teenagers who can help out as volunteer floaters, and then they get to be assistant bilingual digital literacy instructors. It looks great on their college applications. We also distribute computers and help people access affordable broadband, be that through the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is now over, or any other local programs such as Livewire has a program, and also Internet Essentials, whatever we can find to help people get a better deal on their internet. We found, though, that these basic digital skills classes are not all that people need. They often just want one critical issue addressed. They want to resolve one sort of problem. They want to have, a little bit of support with this one application. And so I've been working for a while to get a digital navigator. And so we have participated with AmeriCorps and Colorado Serves in their pilot digital navigator program. There are digital navigators actually in the Boulder Public Library right now, and the Lafayette Public Library right now, but we have the only bilingual digital navigator in the Boulder County area, and he is a high school student still, so he's only available weekends and evenings, but we've been using them in various of the sites in Housing and Human Services for their 55 plus communities in Kestrel and in Josephine Commons, as well as the Lafayette Public Library and evening sessions. Sister Carmen, we've had him at EFA, we've had him at the Longmont Public Library, and a couple other places. So digital navigators can help with internet assistant, help people get devices. They can help out in our in-person classes. They stay afterwards for those individual questions that come up, help people with their phones, pretty much anything. A lot of times it's online applications, it's food delivery applications, things like that. And so here's our navigator here. His name is Noah. The idea is that digital navigators consistently provide holistic, individualized support through repeated interactions. So it was basically a lot like what Angel was saying, like the ambassadors who are right there in the residences. By attending our 8-week classes and meeting Noah and working with him there, we've gained a lot of trust in the communities of Josephine Commons, especially, and Kestrel. And so he has office hours where he has a sign-up sheet, and he'll be there from, say, 4 to 6 or 6 to 8, and he will meet with people. They'll bring their phones, their iPads, whatever questions they have, and he'll just sit and work with them until they get it resolved. You can skip this. This is a little into the weeds, okay? And this as well. One of the things that I've been working on over the last year is trying to map out the digital inclusion ecosystem that we have here in Boulder County. So all of the different organizations that offer supports, for example, Senior Planet and Workforce Boulder County and InGen, all the places that offer online classes and supports that we can direct our participants to once they finish the 8-week courses, or where they can go to get tech support. Another part of the digital equity plan is there's going to be federal funding coming down probably in Q3 or Q4 of this year. And that funding will be directed at digital inclusion coalitions. So I've been trying to create a digital inclusion coalition here in Boulder County so that we can work together to help organizations that need support and need funding to get either devices or hire staff to help support people in learning how to use technology, that we can work together to apply for that funding and to collaborate and share those resources. One good example of this is the Digital Equity Coalition, an already existing coalition. There's a list of the type of organizations that participate in it, for everything from housing authorities through Jewish Family Services, older adults technology services, that's OATS, or Senior Planet, the touring school. And right now we are right here in the Boulder County Digital Equity Coalition. We are in the stages of talking about it and having meetings. And so if anyone is interested in that, my information was in the chat. And if you're interested in, getting classes going wherever you are, or, using some of our curriculum, just reach out. Happy to talk to anyone. Any questions?
Don't all jump at once.
Yeah. We're a pretty small deal compared to Senior Planet. We're pretty much just Boulder County, one full-time employee, me. So,
well, it doesn't take away from the impact of your work that you're doing. So we appreciate you being in the community and doing all of this. It is awesome.
yeah. I did have a direct message from Mervyn asking if clients can use somewhat aged computers. No, really, we don't have a use for older computers. We're trying to, we do have Chromebooks. We find that it's kind of the easiest gateway into this, although some people definitely prefer the iPads. Some people have their own.
Awesome. Well, if there aren't any other questions, Laura will probably be in touch to talk about joining
Sure, yeah.
the coalition. But awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. This has been great.
Thank you, Laura. Congratulations to Noah, and what a big accomplishment for such a young man.
Yeah, he's really built a lot of trust. He's very, very popular with the older adults.
Impressive. So thank you
Aye.
so much.
All right. Well, our next speaker is not Danny Katz. It'll be Jamie Lewis will be covering this portion for Transit Alliance. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Jamie.
Thank you, Laura. I love the couch in the background. That's such a pretty color. So my name is Jamie Lewis. As you know, I am the transit advisor for the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition. I'm also an appointed board member for District A for RTD. Just started my job last week, so really excited about that. My district runs from basically downtown over to DU, running along Spear Boulevard, and then going out to Colorado Boulevard to Colfax. So if you guys have any questions for a board member for that area, please let me know. So I just wanted to check. I noticed there was a phone caller. I'm just curious if Danny tried to get in. Danny was going to be in a dead zone today, so he asked me to present the slides for Alliance to Transform Transportation. We started about almost 2 years ago. We started seeing the consistent problem of lack of funding, and everyone was saying in order for people to want to return to transit or to start using transit, that they need to be more frequent. Well, in order to do that, you have to have money. So we started doing a lot of research and a lot of digging, and we've come up with a presentation. As you can see on this slide, we have several organizations that are involved, and we find them to be very diversified. We see Green Latinos, Southwest Energy, Bicycle Colorado, etc. You can read them for yourself. But we're really excited that these organizations have stepped up and really given a lot of time. And next slide, please. Thank you, Colleen, for doing this. So basically, we believe that people move and connect in different ways, and every person should have access to transportation. If you look at most of the long-term planning for most cities in the Front Range, we're trying to make sure that there's transportation within a 10-block area. What I'm saying is that you should be able to walk to transit stops and expect a bus there within 10 to 15 minutes. If we can get that connection, we can probably recover some of the lost riders we've had in the last 3 years. Obviously, COVID was a big deal. And even before COVID, the ridership for RTD was flattening. We have not recovered. We do not have as many riders as we would like to have. Next slide, please. And I would like to say, unfortunately, because of the with only 25 minutes left, we're probably not going to be able to get through all this. But I just want to kind of like plant the seed to get you guys thinking about this. So one of the reasons why we did this slide deck obviously was to educate, the current state of transit frequency, contemplate on how to focus new money in smaller geographic areas. One of the things that people don't understand is that the RTD district is 2,400 square miles. We are literally bigger than Rhode Island. So one of the problems for RTD is providing service in such a large area, and also to provide an estimate on how much money is going to be needed to reach these goals. Next slide, please. So as you know, people riding the bus is more than just taking a person from one point to an area. One of the great things that we like is that when people ride the bus, they're affecting air quality in a positive manner. Also, transportation, when you use a bus or a train, statistically, it's actually safer than riding a car. So we want to accentuate some of these things. One of the things we like to say is advancing equity and access to opportunity to increase 20 to 40% of the travelers should not, or prefer not to drive because they're seniors, adolescents, people with disabilities who just can't afford it. These are our riders that are dependent on public transportation. And next slide, please. And I'm rushing through this because I really want you guys to see the whole thing. So I apologize, and hopefully we'll forward this to you. So I'm jumping around a little bit. So frequent transit is critical. According to the research, transit service of at least 15-minute headways is needed to deliver the convenience, frequency, and reliability for users to access daily needs. RTD's frequency current is right now is only 13% of the 144 buses are frequent routes, which means 15-minute service or better. And as you can see, the COVID numbers, they had to cut service, then try to reestablish it through a system optimization plan. And they're hoping to complete that in 2026. It's basically rebounding from the COVID. So transit hasn't kept up with growth from 2002 to 2022. RTD's population grew by 36%, while transit service only increased 6%. Next. Like to get, before we get, your eyes are going to hurt looking at these maps. I wanted to go back a little bit and let you know that we did do 2 surveys. We surveyed people on two major questions. One, would they ride transit if it was more frequent? And it was between probably in the high 50s, 55 to 60% of the current ridership said they would like that. And then the key question was, would you be willing to pay a tax or a fee in order for that to happen? And we were really surprised that it was above 50%. So I just want to let you know that we did do 2 surveys, and there was a good feedback from people that they want the frequency and they're actually willing to pay for it. And which is going to be a big, it's highlighting that'll be important as we get toward the end of this presentation. So as you see on the left, this is the entire service area. And on the right, if you look at I think it's the blue area. The blue area is the current 15-minute headways. So you can see how little we have in the blue area on the second slide to your right. As you can see it mostly surrounding Glendale there. Yeah. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we considered was transit propensity. Where is the propensity for ridership? And you can go through this, and we were trying to ensure that we made sure we had racial numbers. We also want to make sure that people who don't have vehicles, people who have one vehicle, what is the propensity for them to use transportation? And for example, people living in the study area who had no vehicles are almost 8 times as likely to use transit as the average transit user. Next slide, please. So I'm trying to figure where we're at here, factored. So this is a map of transit propensity factors combined. This is population. You can see that the dark areas in red are the most populated areas in the metro area. I'm trying to read this myself, and I apologize. This is the first time I've been through this slide deck, so Danny does such a great job, and then unfortunately he couldn't make it today. But areas of better transit propensity include all the parts of Denver, Aurora, Lakewood, Boulder, Longmont, Inglewood, Commerce City, Inglewood, Littleton, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, Westminster, and others. The reason why we mention those communities is that in order to provide better service, it's just inevitable that we're not going to be able to do the entire RTD district. It just financially is impossible to cover the 2,400 square miles. Next slide, please. So the yellow lines are the rail network. Blue lines are buses that are planned to come to 15. According to service plan, RTD's plan, only 34 of 144 routes will have frequent service, 15 minutes. So you can see the yellow lines. We don't have a really robust train system. And out of the 144 buses, the blue, again, going back to the previous slide, you can see how paltry that is. Next slide, please. Let's see. So our scenario, even though we're not covering the entire 2,400, still captures about 99% of the ridership on a typical weekday. That covers approximately 2.5 million people and 1.4 million jobs. Again, the majority municipalities currently served by RTD, and the exceptions, these will be the exceptions: Brighton, Erie, Parker, Morrison, unincorporated parts of Jefferson County, Arapahoe, Adams, and parts of Boulder County. The entire district is 3.1 million residents and 1.6 million jobs. Next slide, please. So, in order to double service, our estimates is that we would have to collect about $2.1 billion over 10 years. And please don't panic when you see that number. In order to improve a service, a transit agency like RTD can only improve service maybe 3 to 4%. The highest we've seen across the country is 6%. So what we're saying is that we don't have to collect that billion all at once, but we could gradually start building those coffers up over a 10-year period. So these are some of the things that we would spend that money on is, $1.3 billion to build up the service, $300 million for expanded bus fleet, $225 to update the 4,000 bus stops. We do have 10,000 bus stops, but we were hoping to upgrade at least 4,000 of them. $175 million for transit services. This would be like your transit, your new micro transit, like we have in Globeville and Swansea. First and last mile options. $80 million for speed and reliability, street improvements. That would be like dedicated bus lanes, retiming the traffic lights, things that local municipalities can do. And then $35 million for strategies to support workforce development and safety. As mentioned before, and Angel brought up a good point about the driver shortage. One of the issues about the driver shortage, and I don't want to go down in a rabbit hole here to discuss this too long, but driver shortage is not the fact that we can't hire people, is that we can't retain them. I've talked to several agencies, including VIA. If you talk to them, they don't have a driver shortage. But when you get into the city, the municipalities where bus service is more in dense, the density of users, that's where you have the conflict, and it's all based on safety. And it's all also includes what Angel mentions about recognition. I've never seen anybody do a job that doesn't like a pat on the back. And what the problem is people will take the test, they'll take the training, and then when they become a bus driver, they really didn't realize how hard it was going to be. When you have to face the public day after day after day and be verbally abused, sometimes physically accosted, this job is not for everybody. For instance, I think RTD hired 400 drivers last year, and I think we were only able to keep 50. We ended up netting 7 for the whole year. So we're working, including my other job that I just took, we're working on efforts, one, to better recognize the work that these drivers do and also increase safety. I know we've been working on possibly some legislation to make it the penalties for assaulting a passenger or a driver a lot steeper. We also have our RTD police group is growing. We have 25 in the training process right now. We're also hiring more people to do more of a social work contact on the bus, homeless coordinators. So we're working on it, and we're hoping to see improvements in that area. So in this map, you can see this from the previous map where the blue was very, very skimpy. This would be the map that we would invest the $2.1 billion. This would be the 15-minute service or better. And in the yellow, as we get further out into the district, would be up to 30 minutes. Currently, those areas in yellow are probably an hour. You know, you wait for a bus, you miss it, and you're going to wait an hour. We're trying to cut that down to 30 minutes. Next slide, please. And how are we doing on time here? 2:47, not too bad. So, as mentioned before, double the share of residents living within 10-minute walking for frequent service. We're trying to get 65% of the reds, maybe 940,000 more people to start taking the bus and trains coming more frequently and reliably. Safer, more comfortable buses. We're trying, our bus stops, I should say, we're trying to upgrade, like I said earlier, about 4,000 benches, lighting and other enhancements for bus stops. Supporting efforts to hire and retain more bus drivers and increase transit access to events. We're trying to reinstate the Red Rocks trip out there and other high visually attractive events, kind of like the young lady that was performing at the stadium a few months ago, you know, that really took a big toll on our transit that weekend. Taylor Swift, I was trying to remember her name. Next slide, please. So you can see these are the numbers if you're a numbers person. And trying to get that 15-minute service up. Next slide. So, as said, this is more of a heat map, trying to improve the service. The 15-minute would be the darker blue in the left side, and hopefully even in the lighter blue. I think that's more of a, let's see, 15-minute or better service. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. So, please reach out to us. We are currently working on the finance part. Of course, everybody's going to ask, well, how do you pay for that? Right now, there's two options that we're looking at. One, DRCOG has the authority to create another RTA. And what that is laying a map over the current RTD district like you saw in those slides. Basically laying a map on top of the area that has the most propensity of riders. So those areas that we had mentioned in the, remember the dark red, where most of the population was and where most of the low income people live and you know, that want to use transportation. We could lay a map over that and then charge a tax. What that would mean is going to the ballot and asking anywhere from like a 0.2 to a 0.6 sales tax. As you know, RTD right now has two taxes. One is 0.4, which they use for their operating, no, 0.6 for their operating system that pays for most of their operations, the money it takes to run the system and to expand a little bit. The 0.4, it was for the fast tracks. So they're pretty maxed out as far as, you know, going to the taxpayer and saying, geez, we want more money for RTD. By laying this map over, DRCOG would have the ability to collect a tax. And some of these things, it wouldn't need to go to RTD. So if we're talking about doing a bus lane, a dedicated bus lane, or changing lights or improving crosswalks so people can safely get to transit, some of those money can go right to municipalities. And that's been one of the cries that we've heard lately is that municipalities would like to be a little more involved in transportation, so we could get them money for doing stuff like that. The other option would be go to the legislature, which, as you know, is, and I'm going to be very frank with you, the legislature has been missing in action for the last 40 years. They do not provide much money to the local RTD system. In fact, everybody wants to use Seattle as a model. Seattle per capita spends about $1,000 on each of their citizens for transportation. Can anybody guess how much we spend here in Colorado or in the Front Range?
Jamie, we're going to let people answer your question. And then I'm sorry.
I know we're running.
Ready to wrap up the meeting.
I knew we'd run low on time.
But I want to give people, since you asked the question, I want to give folks a chance to answer it.
So right now we spend about $360 on each individual for transit. So there is definitely a discrepancy there, and there has been an appetite. It seems that the current legislature wants to be a little more involved. It's been slow going, and we actually have a meeting with some legislators on Thursday, the Alliance to Transform Transportation, and we will be talking about funding for local transit. So again, I apologize on it. I know I just went through a lot of numbers, a lot of maps, and this is something you really need to look at a couple of times. So I'm hoping Colleen can forward this slide deck to you. And please, if you have any questions, please, you have the emails there, reach out to us. And if this is something you find very, very interesting, we'd love to have some more members join us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. We will definitely forward the information.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If anyone has any other questions for Jamie, you can put them in the chat and he'll be able to answer them there. We're gonna go ahead and move on. This is just a quick update for us since we're talking about technology and kind of networking that way. The Getting There app that we have here at DRMAC is a great way to connect with transportation resources around you. As a reminder, we have resources for 9 counties of the Denver metro area. We're updating that information every few months. So you can find all that information in there. I'm not going to do a walkthrough of the app just for the sake of time, but I'll put the link to accessing the app on your computer in the chat. And then as a reminder, the app is accessible with screen readers. So if you or someone you know has any concerns about accessing the app that way, it is compatible. But yeah, just kind of wanted to throw that out there since we're talking about technology and transportation. So yeah. And then next we're going to we're just going to go ahead and open up the floor, as always, to you all. If you have any community updates, if there's anything you want to help promote or share or anything like that, now is the time. Yeah, Steve.
Thank you. I just put the information in the chat, but I am the chairperson of the RTCC committee from Northwest Colorado Council of Governments. And I never can attend your meetings because usually we have a county commissioner meeting on Tuesdays, which is not being held today because of election day. So in the chat, I told about we're planning a transportation summit on September 14th in Frisco at the Senior Center in Frisco. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about is what the kind of things that have been presented here today. We have probably 8 or 10 different bus systems in our area in little towns and separate little valleys, and we have a lot of gaps. We're trying to connect and have better access for the aging population and the disabled and the veterans to have closer to service at their door to get them to where they need to be. So if anyone's interested in attending or wants to find out more information, I put my email in the chat there. So thanks, and thanks for the great presentation today.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna make note of that and we can share that out with our community too. So if anyone's interested, I'll pass it along. Thank you. Anyone else have anything going on in their corners that they want to share out?
I just put in the chat, there's going to be some major disruptions to transportation, especially the rail, from May to September due to some rail replacements downtown. So I really encourage people to check their apps and notices so they understand what they have to do to get around those constructions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to comment on too. We actually have our proposed May 2024 service change community meetings tomorrow. There's 2 tomorrow and then 1 on Thursday. So I'd invite people to come to learn about upcoming service changes on RTD. And yes, I want to highlight the L line is planning to be suspended for rail replacement along the entire corridor. So that's going to be a huge impact. And then additionally, the coping panel project is coming back, which will quite significantly impact all the southwest, southeast lines. So I can put the webpage in for information on that as well.
Yeah.
And I believe we're sharing that out on our social media, right, Maria? Steph, we're sharing those updates.
Yep. Awesome. Anything else? We got like one more thing if anyone wants to share.
I would like to share that this month is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and there's 2 community events going on. This week, March 7, we'll have the Disability Rights Advocacy Day and Awaken Your Senses Sensory Festival, hosted by Developmental Pathways, and there's more information in our social media. Just click on the link on bio and you can find more details. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. Awesome. Well, I think it looks like Andrea had to jump off a little bit early, so I think Colleen is going to be the one to wrap us up here today. So I'll go ahead and pass that off to her. You're muted, Colleen.
I'm notorious for that. We just learned that Andrea is supposed to open and adjourn these meetings, so apologies for missing that piece. So I'll just close us out. But I want to thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time at our educational seminar on April 2nd from 1:30 to 3 p.m. via Zoom. Our 2024 meetings have been shared to our website. You can register for meetings in advance, and we hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks all. Bye.